welcome to Truly We Speak, a podcast where we uplift faith, community, and education. I am so excited to be here today. For those of you who know, it has been a long journey. I remember in November, I was super passionate about starting this podcast, and now that I'm here in the studio, I can't believe that all this is happening. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I want to talk to you all about my solo series that I'm doing right now. There will be 3 episodes released, one in each week, and it'll be talking about me, getting to know me a little bit better. That will be my solo series. And then after that, I plan on bringing entrepreneurs, artists, educators, faith leaders, and community members onto the podcast to have these really deep conversations. So I hope y'all are ready. Let's get into it. So before I start talking about the podcast, I want to talk to you a little bit about myself. I'm the host, Sierra Ward, and I am currently a senior majoring in sales and business marketing. I honestly can't even believe that I'm a senior. Like, hearing myself say that out loud, I'm just like, where did the time go? Because I feel like I just started college and they're going to give me a degree. Like, what? I'm so excited. So why sales? I decided to choose the sales major because I wanted to learn how to not only sell products, but perspectives and ideas. So originally when I came into college, I was a public health major, and this was during the pandemic. And I was like, when I grow up, I want to be like Dr. Fauci. And I started taking the classes. I thought they were really interesting, and I loved how there was like this mind human body connection thing going on, and just to get to see like how certain people were treated in the medical field and how others weren't. And so all those things were really interesting, and I felt like that really wasn't the place for me, however. And so I remember going on a trip to Florida to visit family, and there were just so many things about Florida that stood out to me. A lot of that being business. And I was like, how do I get to have a job that allows me to live like my cousin is living in Florida? And I was like, maybe business is for me. And so I come back and I'm like, I'm switching my major to business. And I still had this passion for medicine, and I wanted to do hospital administration, but I realized like I can do that with business, but I can't really do the other way around. And so I wanted to have like a little bit more versatility in what I wanted to do with my career. And so I switched into the business program, and when I walked in, I felt so welcome. There were so many like-minded people. There were things to get involved in. There was a lot of support. The professors in the program have had corporate experience, so they're not just like pulling things from a textbook. They're like telling you things that have actually worked. And so when it came to sales, I had a family member tell me like, I think you would be good at sales. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, I did this sales program and I enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll try it. And so I took my first like sales classes, and I was like, I think this is for me. And I learned so much about sales. Not that it's just about your personality, but a lot of it is really preparation. And whoever prepares best wins best. Shout out to my professors, because y'all have really taught us how to sell things, not just about sales. So yes, for those of you who know me, you know I will talk about my major all day, every day. But yes, during my time during college, I have tried to like get acclimated in academics, and I've also tried to stay involved in other things. There were so many things when I came to campus, like I want to try this, I want to try that. And so one thing that I really have a passion for is social justice. And so during my freshman year of college, I joined the Black Student Union, and I was the community outreach specialist. And so I was like doing things to try to like bring the community in. And so born and raised in Kalamazoo, I love Kalamazoo, and I'm a Proud Promise scholar. So being able to like bring community onto campus was something that was really fascinating to me also. And after BSU, I kind of saw this need for an organization on campus that was beautiful Black women. And so I was able to help bring that organization back to campus. And that's also something else that I'm a part of. Now, that's enough about me, but I wanted to also talk a little bit about why I decided to do the podcast. Hey y'all, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far, because I know I am. Now listen, I know you're enjoying yourself, but I need you to take a quick break, okay? First, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. We got some amazing videos coming out in this series and more series to come. If you've already subscribed to the YouTube, great. Now I need you to go to Instagram and subscribe to _Truly We Speak podcast and do the same on TikTok. All right, now back to the video. So from a young age, I have always been interested in media. At some times in my life, it was music. Other times it was photography. I had a photography business in high school. And I've always loved how you're able to tell your story and tell the stories of other people by filming them, by interviewing them and asking them questions, and being able to like spread good news to other people in different places. So I always found that fascinating to me. And I've been doing a lot of public speaking since I've been in college. It's something that I'm passionate about. And I remember one day I was at a panel and I was speaking on this panel, and afterwards some girl came up to me and said that she thought I did a good job. Now, this was a huge compliment because I did not feel prepared at all for this panel. I didn't know what I was going to say. They were like talking about this book. I didn't even read it. I just did a little quick note. So I was like, this interview is either going to go well or this is going to be it for me. So it ended up going well. And this girl, she was my age. She told me, if you have a podcast, I would listen to it every day. And I was like, really? I was like, you would listen to a podcast if I had it? So, girl, I hope you're watching because you are a part of why I decided to start this. And so, yeah, I was like, let's do this public speaking thing and let's take it a bit more serious. And then also, I am in my senior year at the Honors College, and I had to do a thesis project. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to have time to do a podcast and do my honors thesis. And then that's when it clicked in my head, and I was like, what if my podcast was my thesis project and then eventually one day my business? So my advisor was like, yeah, no, I think that's an amazing idea. So this project is a part of my creative thesis. So I'm glad that you all are able to be a part of this with me. So, yes, that is why the podcast. Now, before I get into what I want to talk about today, I have a question for you all. So please make sure you answer this in the comments. Today's question is, what did you aspire to be as a kid? This is one of my favorite questions to ask people when I'm interviewing them or getting to know them, because a lot of times people are like, I wanted to be a doctor. And they're a doctor now. Or they're like, I wanted to be a doctor and now I'm an astronaut. I don't know. It's always really fascinating to me. So please let me know in the comments. Now, me, what did I want to be when I was a kid? Low key everything. There wasn't anything, like any job that was like too far-fetched for me to be. I genuinely believed that I could be anything that I wanted to be. And that wasn't because of myself. That was just because of my village and the people who poured into me. And I was, a lot of times as a child, I was in spaces where they were like, Sierra, you can be anything you want to be. So I shout out my village. I'm very grateful for that. My parents have been a really instrumental part of where I'm at today and the things that I'm interested in. They currently are still both educators, and education was a value that was instilled in our house all the time, even in the summer. And I know, like, people are like, why are you doing work in the summer? It's because when I was a kid, summer was a time where we were still sharpening our minds. And so my parents knew that the summer slide was a thing. And so we were always in summer camps, or we were getting like workbooks from Sam's Club. And my dad would like maybe like give us incentives, maybe even money or something, to like complete these workbooks in the summer. And look, they weren't for the grade we were going into. Like, say, for instance, I was going into like second grade. I was doing like the fourth grade book because it kept us sharp. So any parents out there listening, please make sure you guys keep your students educated throughout the summer, because that is the biggest time where that knowledge is lost. So let's prevent that summer slide. So shout out to my parents, like I said, for keeping education first. And then also, I got to be a part of a program called the Mers Tate Explorers. And this program is led by Mrs. Sonia Hollins, who had this vision and was inspired by Mers Tate. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mers Tate, she was an explorer, and she paved the way for so many young Black and brown students to travel the world. in the Jim Crow South. And so Miss Hollins learned about her and was like, if she was able to do that then, how much more in 2000s can we go and do that? And so she started this program. I joined in the 5th grade, and I remember hearing about the program on a radio ad, and I was like, Mom, I have to be a part of this program. Like, there's no way. They're traveling. I love to travel. And so my mom was like, okay, I know Mrs. Hollins. I'll see what it's about. Maybe you can join. And so she lets me join. I get this exposure to college at a very young age. We go for a week and stay on K College's campus. So I get exposure to the dorms and to like the dining center and to like all these amazing things. So shout out to the travel club. And I got to grow throughout this program. So one of the first events that I went to in the program was at the Barn Theater. And Mrs. Hollins must have asked, like, I need a volunteer to interview the owner of the Barn Theater. Knowing me, hey, I'll do it. Hey, y'all, I'm going to insert the picture in this video so y'all can see what my mama had me wearing at that interview. But anyway, the interview went well, and I was like, wow, like what made me want to do that? And so it is so amazing to see that like this is what I'm actually interested in now in at the age of 21. And I started kind of in 5th grade because of that program. So I was able to get comfortable with being in front of the camera, but I also got training to be behind it. And so wherever we went in the travel club, we were required to like document our experience. And that could be some of us preferred writing, and some of us like really liked doing pictures or doing videography. So each girl kind of had, the thing that they naturally gravitated towards, but I kind of had exposure to everything, not in great detail, but photography I was super passionate about. I think the first thing I was like really wanting to take pictures of was like flowers and food, which I still do like taking pictures of. But I was able to like get to hold a Canon in the 5th grade. I mean, that I don't think a lot of people have that experience. So I think we definitely need more community programs like that to get students engaged in that. And then I got to study abroad with the program. And when I came back, I travel a lot. So please don't be like, where'd you go? It's going to be in another episode. So if you want to know about my traveling, keep listening, keep watching, because it's coming. But I finished a study abroad program, and they're like, okay, we have, I want to say maybe like $1,000 if you finish this class by this certain date. And I was like, $1,000? Sure. So I finish the class, and then I buy a camera with the money, and I begin taking pictures for people in high school, like prom, weddings, like engagement stuff, family pictures. So that was all due to someone giving me a camera, someone letting me hold a camera and be able to believe that I could do whatever I wanted to do with that. And so these are the things that make up my values. I want to share a little bit about each pillar that's based on the podcast: faith, community, and education. So first, I would like to talk about my faith. It is a huge part of my life, and Jesus is my personal savior. I'm passionate about telling other people about the goodness of Jesus, especially young people. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, we're young, we can wait to have a relationship with Christ when we're older, which is true, but you're missing out on all this time that you could be having a relationship with him. So if you have any interest in awe to discover more ways to get into your faith or what a life with Jesus looks like, you are in the right place, because not only am I willing to share just my testimony and expertise throughout this platform, I'm going to bring people onto the show who have been walking with Christ for a long time. So I'm really excited for that. My other value is community. And so as you can hear from me just sharing a little bit of my story, I grew up with a strong sense of community. And so a lot of people who aren't from Kalamazoo may not recognize its beauty, but I see it. And let me tell you one of the things that started to help me appreciate my community. When I came to college and I realized how great the Kalamazoo Promise was, shout out K Promise. When I realized that someone who didn't even know me believed in me enough to say, I'm going to pay for your college, that doesn't happen. That's amazing. And I'm like, wait a second. Why do they believe in the youth of Kalamazoo? Why do they believe in the youth in my community? It's for a reason. It's because we're going places. And so I don't think that we can do this life without other people. I think oftentimes we be getting this rat race and we're like, I'm going to do it better than my neighbor. But in reality, we could get there quicker with collaboration, with working with each other, with learning how to do life from someone that's older than you and learning from someone that's younger than you too. So community is a huge part, and I'm super excited to bring people onto the podcast to talk about what community means to them. Lastly, like I said, education is essential. And I say this especially in Black and brown communities. So for myself, I chose a more traditional route by going to a 4-year university to get my education. And while I recognize that that's not for everyone, learning should never stop. I encourage everyone listening to fall in love with learning, whether that's reading, talking to people in your community, doing something to sharpen your mind. It's essential. We have technology, and I think we feel like we can get everything that we need by looking it up on Google. That's just not true. That's just not realistic. We need other people, and we need things that can help us to elevate our mind. Like I said, education is essential. Why? Because people can take so much away from you in this world. They can take a lot from you, but the one thing they can't take is your education, because you earned it. And so I encourage you all to get stronger in your faith, to begin to build a sense of community, and to never forget to educate yourself. So listen, thank you all for tuning in to my first episode of the podcast. I will be finishing this solo series off with 2 more episodes from your girl. So stay tuned to those. And then after that series, I'm going to be bringing in people onto the show. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. Bye now.